NBA DFS show with John Impemba and James Grande.
What is going on, everybody? Happy Friday. Happy Friday. And welcome into the Fantasy Alarm NBA DFS live stream. I am James Grande, joined by Keith Eister. Keith, back-to-back days, arm feeling sore. At least you get a couple days off. We don't play again until next week. So what's up, dude? How's it going?
Grande, in 10 years of doing this, last night was one of the all-timers for an NBA slate, man. First, we get the LaMelo off the bench stuff. Yeah. Brandon Miller gets ejected, who I shouted out as one of my absolute favorite plays on the entire slate.
Yeah.
And then we get a rainout in the NBA. Only the second time in history that I can ever remember that happening. But good on DraftKings for giving us all our money back, letting us free roll that. But we get to do it all over again tonight. But it was an absolutely wild time last night.
Yeah, salute to all those that just decided to remove one of 4 games from the slate last night and got to actually participate, right? Also ended with 2 Mavericks injuries, just to top it off. AD, who might now miss multiple months. Brandon Williams didn't come back after the first half. He was sick. So, just the cherry on top, I had every bit of exposure to every one of those situations.
Same.
And so it was a really fun time. But I do agree, kudos to DraftKings for if you were playing that game. I in my single entry ended up with Ayo Dosunmu and Matas Buzelis, so I did have shares of both. Salute to them for refunding. That was a good tip of the cap to them today here, Keith, because I think it realistically, like with a rain out, they did the right thing. Shout out, but
certainly not something they had to do.
Something they had to do.
As people who have been doing this for a long time, we understand things happen, injuries, ejections, those things happens. Like there are going to be nights where you just get completely shut out. But because it was such extenuating circumstances, it was very kind of them to go ahead and step up and eat that one for everybody.
Damn, I missed a lot last night. Just woke up to money, says Coach Chris. So Coach Chris doesn't even know what happened. Coach Chris is the sorry for your loss, or I ain't reading all that. Sorry for your loss or congratulations meme. We're literally in a comment. That's what that is. Like, doesn't know anything that happened, but he's just happy he won. We'll get to some comments before we get going. Good evening from some guy. Cujo in the chat, as always. Good evening to you as well, Cujo. Decent night. Right? Decent night. Doesn't even know anything. No idea what even happened last night. Ben Bryant says, woo! I don't know. How do you read that?
That's a relief. Whew,
that's more like a relief. That's more like a relief one. Life is saying, let's get it. He's lifting. He's playing basketball. He's lifting again. He's making money. Coach Chris wasn't going to play, but he's off till next week. Steve is thanking us. Thank you. Happy Friday to you as well, Rolly. We'll see. I'll see you in the single entry streets tonight. And the Bulls game got canceled, and I didn't play at all. So there you go. We got another. Woo! That's 2 in a row. I've never seen so many people say that in one, ever. Honestly, I don't know if that's ever really been typed. Big salute to everyone in the chat. We're gonna have a good show today. 7 games on the DraftKings slate and the FanDuel slate. 7 games. They did a firm handshake, the Tiger Woods, big dog meme, all that good stuff. Very interesting slate. Still a lot of news to come down the wire. We know OKC ruled out a lot of their team. They have 5 key rotational pieces out and possibly 6 if Alex Caruso's out. We got the Jamal Murray downgrade. Kawhi was questionable to start the slate. Scotty downgrade to doubtful today. A lot to break down. Before we all do, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel. You know how it goes down. We appreciate all the support, and we're going to go position by position. Keith, anything overarching thoughts about tonight's slate before we get into the positional stuff?
No, I think you touched on a couple of the big ones. Obviously, we have some injury situations. That's good. You're going to like your lineups tonight. So fun slate. There's going to be some ways to get different for sure, as we will get into a little bit further as we break it down.
Okay. Point guard position, we will start. There are some big names here, SGA not included, but Jamal Murray 10K for the first time this year and warranted, but we are dealing with an ankle/illness injury for Jamal with the midday downgrade to questionable. We have Tyrese Maxey 9,700, and we have James Harden 91. I'll throw Brunson and Booker in there too. We can just talk about everyone 8K and up. Any leans here, Keith? Does a Murray downgrade worry you at all?
It does worry me a little bit, and it's unfortunate because it's a fantastic matchup for him. And like you said, he has deserved every bit of that 10K price tag recently. I talked to when Jokic first went out. I think I was on the show with John, and I was like, I just don't know if Murray's going to be that 30% plus usage guy and just do everything. Well, he's answered that question. He has absolutely done that.
Yes.
And he's worth every cent of that 10K price tag if he's healthy. But now we do have that to deal with. The matchup against Atlanta is fantastic. They play at a really fast pace. So good game environment there. I do prefer Maxey though, because he's not dealing with the injury tag. He was on his way to smashing yet again in the last game. The score just got out of hand, and he didn't play his typical 40 minutes. But that's what the upside is, 40 plus minutes. The Orlando defense, and I know you've talked about this as well, without Jalen Suggs, they're not a good defensive unit. It's a good spot for Maxey. They struggle against the point guard position in particular, and now you're taking Suggs off the floor, who's their best perimeter defender. I let Tyrese Maxey the best in this range.
Yeah, I would say he's probably second if Murray plays, but it's obviously a little bit of a concern when it's not only the ankle, it's also an illness. And we've seen plenty of players leave games because they're ill. Brandon Williams, literally last night, wasn't even ill going into the game, and then must have fell ill at some point. So, maybe that is enough to vault Maxey. I don't have a lot of interest in Harden unless we get the Kawhi downgrade. I've talked about a lot with Brooklyn's defense. They are dogs lately. They've been one of the best defense in the NBA for almost a month, which is shocking to say with how bad they were to start the year. But I don't have that. They have a really good head coach that will not play you if you don't.
That's an interesting situation. They've been one of the worst defenses in the league for several years now, and their personnel is not all that different at this point. No. And MPJ is not helping that defense. He's about the only new piece there.
If you look last 15 games, Keith, okay, it's a solid sample. By the way, Brooklyn 8-7 over that span. Here are the defensive rankings from top to bottom. Number 1, OKC. Number 2, Brooklyn Nets.
That's wild, man.
They are the second rated defensive team in the NBA, ahead of the Spurs, the Pistons, the T-Wolves, the Raptors. I'm not getting a $9,100 Harden unless it's large field, and unless there's Kawhi out.
Right.
Yeah, we'll talk about
214 is the total in that game. Not good.
We could just move on. Jalen Brunson is 86, Devin Booker 84. I think both are playable. I don't know if you have any stronger takes than that, but I think both are playable.
That's my take as well. Either one of them could find a ceiling, but neither one has been doing it enough for me to target them heavily on the slate. It's
also, I think, very slate dependent, because we're going to talk about a point guard that is just the nuts of the day.
Yes.
So basically anyone from AJ Mitchell from Derek White to AJ Mitchell, who would you want to talk about? I'll open that up to you.
I don't think that there's anyone. Okay, I see one name.
I have two names. I have two names for you.
Emmanuel Quickly is the guy that we definitely need to talk about.
Yes.
Scotty Barnes is doubtful, and that means Quickly is going to have the ball in his hands a lot more than he typically does, because even though he's listed as their point guard, Scotty plays point guard a ton of the time. So Quickly has a massive ceiling in this spot if Scotty Barnes sits.
Yeah, so looking at Quickly with Barnes and Jakob Poeltl off the floor this year, he sees the biggest usage increase on the team, 5.4%. It is still only I shouldn't say only. The 27% usage rate that he has with those two players off the floor is still third behind Brandon Ingram and RJ Barrett. We still don't have definitiveness on Ingram as well. Ingram went through shoot around, but he's listed as questionable. So things could be getting even better for Emmanuel Quickly, but 27% usage, almost 1.2 fantasy points per minute without Pirtle and Scotty Barnes on the floor. Those are big numbers for a $6,300 player. There's only one Raptor the last time I checked, that was getting like any ownership. Let's see if that's held true. And it ain't Emmanuel Quickly. It's still true from what I'm seeing. So we will see how the ownership progresses on Quickly, but I agree. That is one of the two that I was talking about. I have one other name.
I'll take a stab at Jeremiah Fears because he gets a great matchup against Washington, but
it was the other Washington, or was the other
side
Pelican.
Of that matchup.
No, the other Pelican, just in tournaments, just for Jordan Poole.
No, I like this a lot. I know you're shout out the revenge narrative here for sure, but
yes,
it
was mainly because for those first time viewers, I am not a narrative guy, so we will not be talking revenge here. So we don't have the Murphy status. That's one note. I don't like point guard a lot. I think Jordan Poole is a decent pivot. But they are missing primary rotation pieces. 3. They're missing Jose Alvarado, Sadiq Bey, Herb Jones. Just without those 3 players this year, 1.1 fantasy points per minute, 27% usage. We just saw in a game that Murphy didn't play, he played 40 minutes. In a game that they were down by 20 basically the whole night. I don't know if this is because we had the report today that there was like 5 players the Pelicans are not going to trade, and Jordan Poole was definitely not one of the 5, and everyone else is open for business. I don't know if this was like, hey, look, Jordan Poole can play 40 minutes tonight, right? But it was interesting. He played 40 minutes without Murphy. So TBD on like the Murphy status, but he's going to play a role regardless of Murphy status. I just think that if Murphy sits, there's literally, we just saw it, there's 40-minute upside.
Yeah, I like it. And he's a high upside player anyway.
Yes.
We know he's not afraid to let it fly from deep.
Yeah, even if Murphy ends up playing, I mean, Jordan Poole's in our player pool. So I say I don't hate your Fears call, by the way, because he did also play 27 minutes in that game.
Yeah, and we know the matchup is great. So that's definitely a spot that we want to target. We'll talk about Zion for sure, but the Pelicans are in a great spot. No defense being played in that game.
Great spot would definitely apply here to AJ Mitchell.
Yeah.
Is he the Thunder player that you are most exposed to tonight?
Yes, he is. I think it's just plug and play. Like we have seen him play extremely well in the best rotation in basketball. Now you take away the MVP and another elite player, like he is going to just be the leader of the offense, and it's a very good offense with very good other pieces, even without their 2 stars. The usage has been insane with Chet and SGA off the floor, up around 28%, I believe. He's going to play a ton as well. Like he could play 36 minutes in this spot. AJ Mitchell feels like a free square today.
Yeah, and Cason Wallace is out too. Like more ball handling. Like there's just not a lot of other ball handlers they have tonight. So I think you're just going to see, like you said, there's like as many minutes as he can handle upside, basically. So yeah, I think, and the field he's the highest rostered player of the slate, but I think it's very warranted. Sub 5K, anything stand out to you? Like I think Bub Carrington's pretty interesting if he starts, which I'd assume he does. They already rolled out Trae Young. They did get Keyshawn back, so I guess that we'll see what they do with their starting lineup. Like Middleton's back, Keyshawn's back. Is Bub only if he starts for you?
Probably, yes. He could still find 49. Yeah, probably only if he starts.
That's how I view him and basically Trey Johnson. Like I feel like they're both like, if one of them probably starts and one of them probably doesn't, and I would just prefer the starter in that case. Is there anything else worth talking about at point guard?
Miles McBride's back in the starting lineup, but just not a high upside player. That's all I see. Nothing else.
Yeah, nothing else for me either. I'm even just looking through like ownership. Jalen Brunson, the third highest rostered point guard of the day, by the way. Found that I know a little interesting, but
won't be my third highest.
Won't be my third highest either. Zachary Risha downgraded to questionable. Already, we're gonna talk. I think we're gonna talk a lot of Hawks because there's been multiple downgrades today in Atlanta. Now with Risha, and they've ruled out. They've already ruled out a couple the trade pieces too. So, before we go to shooting guard, we will just check in on the chat. Ben Bryant says, glad to be here. Great one. Insights as always. Great one. Huh? Is that me or huh? Let us know in the comments. Great one. Huh. Interesting. One of us is singled out there. Just kidding, Ben. Loud Harley says, thanks guys. I had Miller in 2 lineups and 3 Bulls and all of the rest.
Sounds a lot like my lineups, and I had 40 of them.
Yeah, so
I don't think there was a single lineup that I didn't have exposure to something bad that happened.
I was going to say, what
Miller, the Bulls game, or AD, or Brandon Williams. Like those were 5 like extremely high owned pieces for me.
How many lineups did you get? Did any sneak through without any of that of 40?
I had a couple that cashed. Yeah,
okay.
A couple even found a minimum min cash with a 0 in it.
Okay.
Like, yeah.
Buzelis,
I lost.
Buzelis.
Yeah, I needed the refund to get it anywhere near even for sure. Like, there's no doubt about that.
Right. He didn't fall ill. He was ejected. Brandon Miller. Yep, for sure. 2 early tech and then the second quarter tech did not help. Jordan Poole is in Coach Chris tournament pool. Murphy just might sit out. I don't know. Trey Murphy might also want to play. He's kind of been hooping lately, coming off 42 actual last time. IC3, cashed high in the 18 with Brandon Miller in his lineup. Well, that's we know you're the GOAT, so we know that. Like, you don't have to tell us that. We know that. Anthony has a question here. Actually, a super chat. We'll go to Anthony's super chat here. Is Maxey slate lock for you? I'll say I'm assuming he says, is Maxey the slate lock for you here, Keith?
No, he's not. I think he's a very good play. He's one of my favorite spend ups on the slate, but a lock, no. I guess if you're making one lineup, you could call him a lock. If I was playing one lineup, would I play Tyrese Maxey? Yes. If I was playing 40 lineups, would I lock him in 40? No.
Okay. I would, as the single entry the resident single entry player, even though Keith is now he's also dipping his toes in the single entry, and I saw we almost with a takedown. I would say he is not my favorite play, but he is amongst the top 3 in terms of spend ups. I would say he's the top 3 and he's not 1. So we'll get to number 1 here in a few. Anthony also asked, stacking Sixers and beating Maxey. Sure, if you very contrarian route, but you can. IC30 says, hello all, thanks for show. Hello to you, my friend. Good job cashing again last night. Greg says, howdy Greg. DePrince is dead. Hopefully not. I hope you're alive. But great insights. So he wasn't okay. Better, good recovery there, Ben. Good recovery. And Anthony says he can get 55. He can absolutely get 55 actual. Like, it's wouldn't be surprised if Tyrese Maxey scored 55 actual points in a game tonight.
Definitely not.
No. Let's go to shooting guard. We talked Booker a little bit. There's Desmond Bane, Derek White. A lot of these are retreads. First, Bane, Ingram, Murphy are the non-retreads. What do you think about that? Like the 7K? We could just go the whole 7K and up tier here at shooting guard, Keith.
Ingram is certainly the first standout. Without Scotty Barnes, massive usage rate, plays a ton of minutes when he's healthy. Do have that questionable tag that we need to monitor, but assuming that he is active, I assume he's good to play mid-30s minutes again. Yep. And with that usage rate and no Scotty Barnes, he has an incredible ceiling. Anthony Black is interesting. I don't know what to do with Orlando. Obviously, they had that one weird game where everybody just got benched, and then Anthony Black came out and played 37 minutes again, but he was terrible. Without Jalen Suggs, I think that he has enough ceiling to pay off 7,500. We haven't seen it in a couple of games. Nobody's playing him tonight, but I do think he's interesting. So it's deep tournament only, but I think he's a little bit interesting.
Yeah, in tournaments, Orlando is a very interesting tournament team because no one's playing them and they're down two of their best players. Two very high usage players. So we like Bane we've seen a ceiling all year, but the other games where you don't, it's like Anthony Black and Desmond Bane are similar. The ceiling games are great. The floor games, you're dead. Like there's just you're not getting much else. So I also like Murphy if he plays. It's been a weird fit with Zion when you look at some of the numbers. Like Murphy's usage with Zion and Jordan, specifically Jordan Poole being back, is like way down. But then you look at recently, like last 3 games, he's been 22% usage or better in each, and then 27% usage in that Lakers game. And like, that's obviously a good trend. He plays more minutes than any other Pelican he'll be on the floor for nearly 40 minutes in a competitive game. We've now seen that repeatedly. And he gets possibly the best spot on the whole slate. What's your take on Trey Murphy? He's getting some ownership. He's the 3rd highest rostered shooting guard today. Like, don't love the ownership, but it's undeniably a good spot.
Yeah, I don't love the ownership either, but I'm going to play into it because of the ceiling that we've seen. He's been this type of a usage player in the past alongside Zion Williamson. So the Jordan Poole thing definitely could impact him, but I'm just going to trust what we've seen in the last 2 games. And a 50 fantasy point ceiling at 7,300 is very nice. So I will definitely play some of that.
Agreed. What about NAW? I think Atlanta gets more interesting by the second. We had the Kristaps Porzingis downgrade. We then found out McCollum and Kispert are not going to make their debuts. And now we have the Zachary Richeche downgrades. We have NAW $7,200. Denver's been a pretty bad defense. I understand like Christian Brown and Aaron Gordon are back in the fold, so like they'll be a little better. But what do you think of like NAW, Dyson Daniels range here, 772 and 7,000 respectively?
I prefer NAW, and it's just because of the usage. Like I did not expect us to get to a $7,200 NAW this season,
Never.
But the usage has been there, and he's justifying the price tag. Especially without Trae Young. If you take Kristaps Porzingis off the floor as well, there's even more usage available for him.
Yep.
So, like, good chance he puts up upper 20s usage and has a great chance to pay off that price tag.
Yeah, 27% without Trae and Kristaps Porzingis. So
yes, very nice.
Edgecombe we're getting to Edgecombe. Edgecombe as a pivot off of J-Dub. That is an interesting one. How would you, as the tournament expert here, specific, like very specific pivot, right? Edgecombe, going to Edgecombe from J-Dub.
So NBA chalk is different than chalk in any other sport. So like in the NFL, you want to find a 1-for-1 pivot, and that's fantastic. If you're playing for Jalen Williams to fail, you better have a plan on how that happens, because somebody on the Thunder is going absolutely nuts tonight. It doesn't have to be J-Dub, so I'm not saying it's – first of all, he's the most expensive Thunder. So if you're picking one to fade, I would much rather try to fade him than an A.J. Mitchell or a Carlson, somebody like that who's just way too cheap, and the route to them failing is just not even worth like playing for. J-Dub is the most expensive one, is a fine target to do that with, but have a plan. So I'm saying other Thunder exposure in your lineup for the route that Williams fails. Like maybe you would play an Aaron Wiggins or something like that, and he gets hot from 3, and that's how J-Dub doesn't get there. But make sure that you have a plan, because it's going to be pretty difficult for J-Dub not to pay off his price tonight.
Would Edgecombe be your preferred pivot if you are looking for one off Jalen Williams?
Yeah, I like the target a lot. He's been incredible. We know he's got that same 40-minute ceiling that Maxey does, and he's been incredible when he's out there. I don't know how he finds all the fantasy points that he does sometimes, but you just look up and, oh, Edgecombe's got 40 fantasy points again. So yeah, I like that as a target.
Dude, minutes in the NBA are really a superpower.
Yep.
It's a superpower. Tyrese Maxey is not first on his team in usage or fantasy points per minute. Joel Embiid is first in both those categories. But guess what?
Maxey plays more minutes.
Tyrese Maxey leads the NBA in minutes. Like, it just kind of is what it is. So I do think that's a good one. I will get to J Dub. I'm not doing that, but obviously as a tournament player, I totally understand.
I will not. I might play 100% AJ Mitchell. I'm not playing 100% Jalen Williams. So that's fine. Yep.
Or having 100% of Carlson or Kenrich Williams. Like in all your lineups, you're having one of those players.
Correct. Yep.
Because they're 32 and 34. Like, it's a free square. Best spend up. Anthony's back to the best spend up. Murray, Jaylen Brown, or Jalen Brunson?
I think Brunson's pretty clearly behind the other two. Okay. I'll go Murray over Jaylen Brown, but that's closer.
I also would go that direction. Russ is a new member. Anything you should know about the projection other than the projections in Daily Playbook? Yeah, we have a Discord that you can see in the chat right here that we are constantly talking in with our members. We have ownership on site. We have a lineup generator. We have all what you can look for. If you go up to the Fantasy Alarm, like the tab, you go to Daily Fantasy, you'll see all the list of tools there. We have a consistency report. We have a matchup report, salary adjustments, all that stuff for us. So if you go on site and you go to the Daily Fantasy tab, you'll see all of what we have to offer with your subscription. Icy Theory wants to go to Keyshawn George. That's a good, Cam Spencer, I think, is fine if you get there. Gillespie losing out some minutes, but you could obviously get there. He has a ceiling. Cam Thomas is basically unplayable right now. Icy Theory wants to know Keyshawn George, 6,100. I have thoughts, but what are yours?
I never know what to do with this guy because it feels like he's breaking out at times, and then like he just stops shooting the ball and the usage goes away. So I'm curious to hear what you have to say. It's obviously a good matchup. I don't know how I'm guaranteed that he's going to have the usage.
My thoughts are we were not directly told when Trey Johnson and Alex Sarr and Bilal Coulibaly came back from injury that they were ever going to be limited until about 12 games into their return when they told us they were going to be limited. He hasn't played. He missed 7 games. He hasn't played in nearly 2 weeks. I'm not saying he couldn't pay it off if he played 27 minutes, but I don't think there's even a guarantee that we sniff 30 minutes tonight. Just with how they have handled injury. I mean, we've seen it, right? Trey Johnson, Alex Sarr specifically. Coulibaly got to 30. It took Sarr multiple games. He just played 30 the other day. So I'm probably not getting here, but I get it because the matchup is so good. I think it's very risky.
Yeah, I agree. The minutes are definitely in question. It is a great matchup though. So
it is a great matchup. It is. He could play 24 minutes and score 26 actual because we've seen Keyshawn George explode before. What else do we have when we go down the list? We talked Jordan Poole already. Coward's questionable. Grayson Allen, Quentin Grimes, Brown. Like all these guys feel kind of meh. Like I probably wouldn't play anyone in that tier. Who's the next name you'd get to here, Keith?
We talked about Trey Johnson only if he starts. Mentioned McBride. Lou Dort. Is Lou Dort really going to burn me tonight? Like that's one Thunder that I feel okay about fading. I think if he makes 5 threes, then so be it. That's not a main target for me on Oklahoma City. Let's see here. Isaiah Joe and Alex Caruso, both of the other 2 Thunder guys, I think are interesting. Isaiah Joe, I will have some exposure to because if the game does get out of hand, and it still could, the Thunder are such a deep rotation. Without their 2 best players, they could literally blow Memphis out. Like that's possible. And Joe gets blowout run in that scenario. Alex Caruso, I don't see any scenario where he plays more than like 24 minutes. Like he's just not a guy that sees a huge minutes bump unless it's the playoffs. Then it's different.
Yes.
But right now they know what they have in this guy and they need him. Like he's a critical part of their elite defense.
Yes.
They need to make sure he's healthy. So they don't play him all that much in the regular season. I don't think that changes tonight.
Yeah, he's actively talked about that.
Yep.
Like big games. He seeks out big games. at Memphis on a Friday night in January doesn't feel like the Alex Caruso big game mold, but especially when that team announced they're for the first time actively looking for a Ja Morant suitor. So kind of how you said with Lou Dort, like you can play any of these Thunder players, right? And because they're shorthanded, but they do have 11 guys available tonight when you're talking about Youngblood and Barnhizer as well. So it's not like they're so shorthanded where like we've seen a couple teams recently with 9 guys available.
Right.
That's not the case. The Thunder are willing to play anybody that it has a jersey on.
Yeah, and Dagnall has been on record saying he believes they should go 10 deep every game.
Yes.
Like that is part of his philosophy. So even though there's 11 available, sometimes only 9 will play. I don't think that's the case tonight. Like Barnhizer will be in the actual rotation.
Right. So yeah, I think you could take. How would you rank those 3 if you had to? Would you just go like opposite of price, like Joe first, Caruso second, Dort third?
That's exactly what I would do. Yep.
That's how I would rank them too. I will say I don't even know if any of them make the top 5 of my favorite Thunder plays, which is crazy to say, but that's how I feel. So they're all contrarian. They're all more contrarian than the other 5 we'll talk about. So if that's the direction. Okay, breaking news here, Keith.
What do you got?
Scotty Barnes out. Brandon Ingram out.
Ooh, all right. So Quickly and Barrett are like look real good now.
So let's just quickly talk. Let's just talk Toronto for a second, okay? Because Steve Smith, the wide receiver from the Carolina Panthers, formerly, did also break the news here, Brandon Ingram. What do you think they do? So Barrett, Quickly, CMB are almost guaranteed you're 3 of the 5. Do you think Mamu Kelishvili is also in the starting lineup? And then what's their fit? Like, if not, who do you think? Like, do we get like Walter Agbaji? Do we see Mamu Agbaji, Mamu Walter? Like, what do you think this does for Toronto as a whole?
I don't think they will go Mamu in the starting lineup with CMB. So Walter Agbaji would be my 2 guesses for the replacement starters.
Okay. So I was thinking about this earlier, just with the off chance that this happened. They actually did overlap in the last game when Scotty got hurt. They overlapped Mamu and CMB for almost the whole 4th quarter. That was the only thing that gave me a little bit of hope that they would start both of them. Because if they do, we'll talk about both those guys. They would both be like really interesting. Mamu unfortunately lost his power forward eligibility. That kind of sucks because that had been like a big piece of it. But he's really good per minute. We're going to pivot to small forward here in a second. Revisiting the Emmanuel Quickly stuff, how much more exposure do you want for Quickly? Like he was previously 10% rostered. This is prior to the Brandon Ingram, Scotty Barnes official news. We're way over the field. We're way over that now, right? At 10%. Like,
oh yeah. I mean, he's in like AJ Mitchell territory at this point, as far as points per dollar go. Like he probably plays 34 minutes in the spot, and the usage just gets him like Ingram and Barnes. Like Barnes does everything. First of all, I talked about how that's going to affect Quickly and put the ball in his hands more. And then you take the massive usage of Ingram off. Somebody's got to shoot the ball now, and Quickly's not afraid to do that. So. Like he's probably right behind Mitchell and Carlson as like the best point per dollar play on the slate.
Any Jamal Shed thoughts as we revisit point guard? He's usually a guy that would close like when they've been missing somebody. I feel like he's a guy that's closed before next to Quickly.
Next to Quickly, he has.
Yeah,
I was going to say that. I'm not sure that they would do that, but
yeah, they've overlapped a good amount of minutes. I'll get you the exact number that they've overlapped, but
yeah, I guess they played 30 and 20 minutes in the same game before. So yeah, it's something that they do.
They've played 187 minutes together this year.
Yeah. I mean, I think I prefer the starter, and I think that's going to be Walter instead of Shed, just because they're going to want Shed in that backup point guard role. But yeah, he's still playable. I think he could still find 28 minutes in the spot, and he's a good per minute producer. So yeah, I'm into that.
Okay. Just revisiting the positions that we've already gone by. You said Walter 3,300. He is point guard, shooting guard. Could play him. He got some starts earlier in the season when RJ Barrett was out. And now we're talking Ingram and Scotty. So 3,300 for Walter. Would Grady Dick be on your radar? Would Ochai Agbaji be on your radar, or you're not looking either of them?
I don't think I go that deep here.
Okay.
Walter and Shed, yes. Grady Dick and Agbaji, no. They're just too low per minute. Now, we've seen Grady Dick, and I don't know that he's done it this year, but in the past, he's had some nuclear explosion games from usage. But with Barrett and Quickly still there, I don't think there's all that much available for Grady Dick.
Agreed. Let's go to small forward, where we'll talk RJ Barrett here in a second. I am looking to get the numbers. We do not have a big sample of minutes without Ingram, Pirtle, and Scotty on the floor this year. As you'd assume, though, Keith, both RJ Barrett and Emmanuel Quickly in that small sample both have usage rates over 32%. So,
yeah, and they're both 6K.
They're both in the 6K tier on a slate where you have infinite value. So it'll be very interesting to see where the ownership goes. Small forward, we have Kawhi Leonard, who is questionable. Jaylen Brown, 95. Michael Porter Jr., who's probably going to make an all-star team at $8,700. We have the aforementioned J-Dub, Jalen Williams at 75. You said you're not playing 100% Jalen Williams, but like, how much exposure to the other guys do you have?
Not a lot in this tier. We talked about the game environment for Kawhi and MPJ. 214 points when there are 240-point totals on the board does not feel like the spot to attack. So they could find a ceiling in any spot, but I'm not going to chase it here. Jaylen Brown is a guy that I want exposure to, especially with no Scotty Barnes on the other side. That greatly improves this matchup here for JB. He has among the best usage rates in the entire league. We've talked about that all season. Just seems like a good spot for 50 fantasy points yet again, which he does basically every time out. Agreed.
J-Dub is what he is. 40-minute upside. He is going to be Shea.
Yeah.
Maybe not as efficient, but he's going to have the usage of Shea tonight. So,
yep. I have not played Jalen Williams, I don't think, more than 2 or 3 times all season long. And this is finally the spot. Like, part of it is because of Chet's emergence alongside of SGA, who emerged a couple years ago. Like,
it's a great point.
J-Dub's just fallen back to the third option, and he's been overpriced all season long. Well, now he's extremely underpriced. He should be over 9K in this spot.
And there's been reports where he's had to relearn how to shoot since fracturing his wrist, like since the wrist surgery and stuff. So take that for what it is, right? He scored 40 points in a finals game with a fractured wrist, but now he has to learn how to shoot again. I don't know. Well, those are just the reports, Keith. Okay, I'm just out here. Don't shoot the messenger. Okay. If Jamal Murray were to sit, would you play Peyton Watson?
We talked about not getting to 7,200 NAW. No universe did I think Peyton Watson would ever be 7K. But this is a guy that I've actually been playing a lot. I have mild interest because of the matchup, even if Jamal plays.
Okay.
Like, he has been that kind of a usage player since Jokic went out. He's worth every bit of this 7K price tag with the role that he has right now. He's playing as many minutes as anyone on the team. And the usage rate is up in the high 20s. Like, he is a legitimate 7K player at this point with this roster, even with Gordon and Braun back.
It's weird. It's a weird feeling. It's a weird feeling. Like you said, never in a million years would we expect him to be here, but here we are.
Same thoughts as Quickly. Like,
dude, 35 minutes last game.
Yeah, right. And he's going to have 35% usage in this spot. Like, RJ Barrett should lead the team in shots today.
Yep. 25 shots. And we saw the Ingram injury and the Scotty injury last game, and he did exactly that, right? Took 25 shots. So,
yep. He's at least 1,000. He should probably be 8K in this spot, like 1,500 underpriced.
Agreed. all things considered, you're playing an 8K plus player at 6,500 for today.
Exactly. Yep.
What else do you like here? There is some value that we'll get to, but is there anything in the mid range that we need to spend time on? I don't mind Bilal Koulibaly, but like I don't mind him. There is Keyshawn George return. Risha Shea got the downgrade, so 4,900. That would probably Krejci would get a big minutes bump if Risha Shea were to sit. It's probably Wiggins. This is probably Wiggins tier, and that's probably the guy we'd want to talk about here.
Yeah, Wiggins is the only one I feel like we have to talk about.
Do you think he probably starts again, right?
Yep, I would assume so. Yeah, especially without Case and Wallace. Yes. Yeah, he's going to start.
What do you think the minutes look like in a competitive game? Do you think he plays 30?
Yeah, I think he could exceed 30, 32, 34.
And I have to ask because, like, where does Wiggins, and we'll get to the centers in a second, where does Wiggins rank on, like, the podium for you of Thunder? Because there's literally 6 guys probably that you could put on the podium.
Yes. So
is he on the podium?
I don't. Maybe he's third, but okay. I don't like. He's definitely not 1 or 2. And you could make an argument that the big man situation, as far as exposure goes, we're gonna talk about that situation. But you should probably have one of those guys in every lineup. Wiggins, I think his path to like a 10x, which is possible in this spot, would be Jalen Williams not shooting well, and then he kind of takes over that role as the main offensive guy. It could be AJ Mitchell as well, but there's a path where Wiggins runs into a bunch of usage here. I don't think it's the most likely outcome, but the ownership is probably going to reflect that as well. I don't think he will be as owned as AJ Mitchell and Brandon Carlson, but because he's so cheap, he's still going to have plenty of ownership.
Can I refute that and tell you that Aaron Wiggins is the second highest rostered player of the slate right now?
Yeah, I don't love that. I mean, it makes sense. And I think the Toronto news will impact that a little bit because people will be more willing to go into the 6K tier now than they were.
Right.
But yeah, that's a player where I still want plenty of exposure to, but I don't feel the need to get overweight on that number. Where AJ Mitchell is massively owned and he should be massively owned, and I want to be over that with my exposure. Wiggins is not in that tier.
Okay. Anything else at small forward worth talking about?
Talk Caruso already. Yeah, I see nothing else.
Okay, we'll get to some questions here, and then we'll boogie on to power forward. Branham Middleton minutes. I don't see either playing enough to matter.
No, just jamming more Thunder.
Jamming more Thunder at that point. Any Magic guys you pivot to? We'll talk power forward here in a second. I would play Paolo in tournaments. Keith said Anthony Black.
Yeah, those are the only 2.
Dyson Daniels or Nikhil?
It's Nikhil for me. I lean into the usage more.
Agreed. Who would get the garbage run on Boston? Listen, Keith, don't worry about jumping in. I got this one. Don't try to guess Boston rotation. Just don't. You're better off doing anything else. That's all. Yeah. Anything.
I will say, like, guessing rotations is a part of like my tournament strategy because I'm so invested in that part of the game. Like, I think that's where I can find a bit of an edge. And even I've given up on Boston. Like, it's impossible.
They are the worst. They have officially become the worst. It's very hard. Does this upgrade Hauser or Jalen? I'm assuming this is because Anthony also has another one later about Toronto. I don't think it helps Jalen. Hauser is just, does he make threes or does he not?
Right. He's irrelevant on this slate.
What's up, guys? What's up, Torin? How's it going? NAW or Emmanuel quickly? That's a good question.
That's going to be quickly for me now.
Yep, I agree. Every Denver game sees like there's fantasy gold. Agreed. Toronto has a low team total. I think that this is interesting because you're right but I don't think it matters. Like, there are situations that matter when it comes to this. When a team has 3 starters and 2 of their best players, possibly their 2 best players out, that kind of doesn't matter for a small group of players.
Yeah, we're talking about their two usage guys that could have two guys that could have over 30% usage at 6,000 DraftKings dollars. Like that's incredible. I don't care if the team is projected to score 99 points.
Okay. Does Scotty Barnes injury? Yeah, see, doesn't. I mean, Jalen and Derek White you could always play them regardless. What are we taking on Maxey? His PRA or just points? You could do either. He's a good rebounder for a guard. He's also a good playmaker. So I don't know if you have any leans there, Keith. You're in the prop streets a lot.
For sure. No lean there. I like them both.
We'll talk FanDuel in a second and the center. How's Triple J tonight? Triple J, he exists. Hope he's doing well. Power forward we go, Keith. I answered Tyrese Maxey as my not favorite because I putting on the clown mask again, and I'm going back to the Jalen Johnson well. I 2 bad games are not getting me down on Jalen Johnson. This is a guy who has been a nightly triple-double. They just traded the former face of the franchise for him to become the face of the franchise. The team has had multiple pieces that they acquired are not playing. They have multiple downgrades today. It's an elite spot. Jalen Johnson to the moon. Don't care the price.
I don't have anything to refute that. I agree that we should be right back in on this guy. He's been someone we've been playing all season long. The situation has only improved as the season went on with Trey now out of town. So I'm right there with you. Awesome matchup against Denver, who's been very bad defensively this season. Gordon back does help that a little potentially, but not anything I'm scared of. Like I'm just not concerned about matchup for JJ anyway.
Yeah. Dude, he 63 against Minnesota. They run a double. Like we've done this, right? We've done the matchup thing, and he scored like 98 fantasy points on the second leg of a back-to-back earlier. Paolo in tournaments for sure. Scotty's out. Zion, he's someone that you opened the show saying you wanted to talk about. Let's talk some Zion. What do you like or dislike about him tonight?
I love the matchup for him against Washington.
Great matchup.
Like they're fast-paced. They allow the most points in the league, or second most points in the league. They allowed a ton of rebounds as well. We saw him play over 30 minutes a couple of times in the last few games. I just think 8K Zion is too cheap, even with what Trey Murphy is doing there. I think they can both get there tonight in this matchup particularly. So my exposure is probably going to come down to him now with the Toronto situation, but going into the show, he was one of my higher exposed players that wasn't a Thunder. I still love him. I'm going to have to get to a lot more Toronto now.
Yeah, almost 30% roster tonight. Second highest power forward projected in terms of ownership, only behind Aaron Wiggins, who has multi-position eligibility. So shows you where we're talking with Zion. The field is with you, my friend. Next tier, we talked Triple J. Hopefully he's doing well. Peyton Watson, we talked. Aaron Gordon. I mean, even though the Spencer Jones downgrade, like Gordon's just not going to play enough. We have PG 67, Aldama 66. Derek Queen is probably the next guy I wanted to talk about.
Yep.
I don't have a lot to say other than he's a GPP play that has a really high ceiling and a really low floor because he might play, as you can see here. Like it's hard to judge someone game to game, but it's with Derek Queen, it really is just game dependent. Like he might play 19 minutes, he might play 32. It just depends on how his coach views him on that night.
Totally agree. Play him for the ceiling. I don't care what the floor is. If he only plays 19 minutes again, then so be it. I move on because I play multiple lineups. If you're playing one lineup, that becomes a lot more risky. Yes. But if you're playing more than a couple lineups, I certainly would get to him.
Yeah, I think this is a slate where like one lineup could work with Derek Queen because the spot is so good. And the price has come down to like a pretty comfortable point. So
yep.
Like Derek Queen a lot. Another situation, not a lot I care for until we basically get to the value range, unless you have a different opinion.
Yeah, CMB, I assume, is where we're going next. Yeah. I don't have anyone until him.
Yeah, CMB. That's the next one. I mean, in theory, there's a usage increase. I don't know if that's what he's going to do. He's just not like great offensively, but super active defensively, super active on the glass, always cutting and screening. What's your CMB outlook tonight?
Yeah, I mean, 30 plus minutes is a role that we've seen recently.
Yes.
As a starter, I don't see why that would change tonight now that they're down their two best players.
Right.
So he's still underpriced. He's recently taken on that role, so the price is still adjusting, and now you have two studs out. So yeah.
Just a lineup note. We'll go to center in a second. Nick Claxton's going to start ahead of Daron Sharp. I assume that would be the case too. I think I projected it that way anyway. Salute to Daron. We'll never forget those few games that you had. We'll save Kenrich for center just so we can have that discussion combined. Yep. But for those that don't hear us say Kenrich, we'll talk about that shortly. Anything else you want to talk about or we need to talk about?
I mean, Chris Middleton, but no.
No, we don't need to do that.
Yeah.
I get it.
Yeah.
He's $4,000.
What's the upside? He's going to play low 20s minutes. He is cheap, but no thanks for me.
I mean, in competitive games, he's playing 23 minutes. It's just
right
where we are. Let's go to center. Do you want to start at the top or do you want to start at the bottom? Because the bottom is probably the more appealing topic.
Yeah, for sure. But we can close with that. Let's knock out the top. We've got Embiid with the big ceiling. Like that's the first name that jumps off. Cat is interesting. 8,100 is an interesting price. Without Josh Hart, like his rebounding has ticked up a little bit. I think he has a better path to find a ceiling without Josh Hart. He hasn't found that ceiling all that often. He did find it last game, but 8,100. Like this is a guy we've paid 9,800 for. Like,
yes.
Almost 10K, plenty of times on this team. It's an interesting price.
Yeah, it's just the inconsistencies. We've just gotten there's a wide range of Cat outcomes that we never have to doubt the talent. The guy is as talented as any other 7-footer in the NBA. So definitely think it's interesting in tournaments. I think there's another few names that really pique my interest. Alex Sarr, Onyeka Okongwu, and Zubats at 6,800 would be three guys that I'm like, you all feel a little bit too cheap for what's about to go down tonight.
Yeah, all three have really big ceilings. And they're not going to be owned either because of the value that we're about to talk about. I think it's a good spot to get overweight on some of these guys.
Sarr does have a bunch of ownership. He's the only one though. Like no one's playing Okongwu right now. We'll see what happens if Porzingis were to be ruled out. And absolutely no one's playing Zubats, even though he's been an 8K player all year and now he's 6,800 back to full strength. And there's possibly no Kawhi Leonard, but who am I to just saying loan. Cordero, we're about to talk. We're talking Thunder last. Don't worry. We got there's a lot of thoughts and comments and concerns. I don't think there's anything else I'd care to play because we have cheap Thunder.
I'll throw a Jock Landale out there with no resistance on the other side. But yeah, I mean, he's not going to be anywhere near as big a part of my lineups as the Thunder guys.
If Coward's out, he has a big usage rate, and I think they might keep starting him, which I was shocked the other day to see. I would throw Mamu out there just because I do think that he could start and is a 1.1 fantasy point per minute player without those guys. Like
he is not afraid to take on some usage either, and there's some big usage guys out.
Yeah, no ownership, by the way, right now. 2%. So
if he's and to be clear, this is even if he's off the bench, right? Like just give me 25 minutes from him, and that's enough.
25 minutes. Yeah, well, let's talk Thunder. What Thunder? Steve says agreed. No idea what even we're talking about. We have Brandon Carlson at 3,500, and we have Kenrich Williams at 3,400. I asked Keith before the show, do you know which game Brandon Carlson started this game? It was actually against Memphis. They basically split the time, 12-22. Kenrich overlapped a little bit because he is power forward. power forward eligible, and he can play power forward like in real life too. What are your thoughts? And I want to know, because I have an answer to this as well, but I'll ask you first. What's your thoughts on both them? And what's your thoughts on using both them in the same lineup tonight?
Because they are both almost minimum price, I think it is okay to use both of them. Okay. It's something that I generally try to limit because I'm always chasing ceiling. Right. And if it's like 2 5K guys on the same team that are probably splitting minutes for the majority of their time, I will generally not include them in the same lineup. But because they're both near minimum price, I think it's totally fine with these two.
Am I a little laggy here?
Did you lose me? I think you froze. Yeah, you froze for a second there, it looked like. But I think you're back now.
I was just faking it. Not. Well, no, the first one I was. The first one I was actually lagging. The second one I was faking it. I agree. I typically don't like it. Like, I wouldn't play Murray Boyles and Mamu in the same lineup tonight.
Correct. Yep. Exactly.
But I do think you can play Kenrich and Carlson. Again, like, he did overlap with Carlson. They both got 25 minutes last game. That they're both near min salary.
And Kenrich went for 31 there. What did Carlson work? I bet there were certainly lineups that cashed that he only got 18. I thought he got like 20. If say Carlson gets like 23 and Kenrich gets 31, like, you can win a tournament with those two scores with both of the 3K guys.
Yep, because you're also you have two studs like that. Those two, you have two studs in your lineup that could get you 60. Yes. Who? Let me ask you. I'll pivot the question a little bit again. Who are you more exposed to in terms of ownership?
I like how you phrase that, because I am overexposed to both. I want to be overweight on both of them. I think there's a better chance that they were both optimal than the field will play them. Because Kenrich, I'm showing like half the ownership right now of Carlson. Like, I mean, that's just a very clear and obvious. I'm going to at least double the field on Kenrich Williams, if not 3x it. Where Carlson, it'll be like I'm 10% over his massive ownership number.
Before we get into building the core that was just going to feature all the Thunder, that's my question to you. In tournaments, what is your max Thunder?
I'm as aggressive as anyone I've ever talked to with this. Like, I will often I will limit teams to like a max of 3 in this spot. Even though there are 6 plays that I love, I'll just, in a large field tournament, I want the 3 highest ceiling guys to land together. In this Thunder situation, because we're taking the MVP off the floor and we're taking Chet, I'm going to say 4. I don't think you're crazy to play 5 in a large field tournament where I'm chasing ceiling. I'm going 4, but I often limit to 3 even in these situations. So it is as good of a situation as we can get, pretty much.
And as a tournament player, it makes sense. That's a contrarian thought for sure, because like you're taking
ceiling is what.
Yeah. I mean, and you're taking their 2 best this year, their 2 best players off the floor.
Right. But as far as limiting them, like what we just talked about with Carlson, where you probably don't need that 23 to win the tournament, you need the Kenrich 31. So by limiting the number of them in a lineup, but being overall overexposed to them, like it changes up my lineup a little bit. Because otherwise, if you run a simulation or an optimizer, and it's a little bit better now with simulations instead of optimizers. This used to be very important when you just you'd click optimize and all the Thunder are the best point per dollar plays. So you'd get clumps of 5 Thunder at the top of your build and 2 or 3 Thunder at the bottom of your build. Limiting it just helped disperse it throughout the lineup. Now with simulations, that's not as big of an issue.
Right. Everything you said is perfect. So we'll leave it there. We'll get 2 questions in here. Michael wants to know Jalen Johnson, Emmanuel Quickly, and Kenrich Williams, or Jaylen Brown, Ivica Zubac, and Aaron Wiggins.
There's a lot less ownership on the second one.
There's a lot less ownership on the second one for sure.
So do with that what you will. The first one will project better, probably has a slightly higher ceiling, but the second one is going to be way, way lower owned.
To be fair, Jalen Johnson is only 12% rostered tonight from what I see.
Okay, well,
so.
that makes my decision. First one for me.
Okay, just saying. I mean, that obviously could change from now until lock, but from what Zion and Paolo currently have more ownership than Jalen Johnson.
So Paolo is probably the one I'll end up underweight on, not because I think he's a bad player or anything, but I prefer Zion and JJ.
And then last question, and then we'll build our core here, Keith. Zubac, Okongwu, Sarr, or Cat, literally 4 centers we just talked about.
All 4 of them very much in play. I will have significant exposure to all 4. If I rank them, I'd probably go Sarr, Cat, Okongwu, Zubac. It's really close up on the last 2. They're going to be really low owned. I think it's Sarr, then Cat, and then whoever your favorite is fine.
I wanted to leave, but I interesting here. And DFS Sports kind of just Tristan Da Silva was just ruled out. I know that's like kind of low level stuff, but if Jace Richardson were to start, I know he did, or Noah Penda. What are your thoughts on those two? I mean, Jace didn't, he DMP'd last game.
How do you put up the 2 games that Jace Richardson just put up, and then you're just a CN a coach's decision?
DMP. Well, I mean, there was an ankle injury, so I don't know if
maybe it wasn't a coach's decision then.
Because I thought as well that there was just a DMP. And then today, the report came out like middle of the day that he was dealing with an ankle. So I didn't know if it was, would you consider like a Penda who closed and was great last game, or a Jace Richardson if one of them started?
Well, now Penda's in the exact same situation that Richardson was just in. Like, they both played awesome when they were given run. Like,
if one of them starts, we know they'll at least play, right?
If one of them starts, they're very playable. I'm interested. Yes.
Okay.
But
would you
like, they both probably get run at this point, right?
Yes. Would the starter pique your interest more than a Thunder value?
So this is like in a lineup where I already had, like, instead of Aaron Wiggins, yes, I'd have some interest here. If I already had Mitchell, Carlson, and J-Dub, then yeah, I would be fine going, if Penda's starting, going Penda over Aaron Wiggins.
Okay. Let's get a core built. We'll just do this right away. We'll do AJ Mitchell. We will do Jalen Williams. You said you wanted to be overweight on Kenrich, right?
Yes.
That would be the okay.
Yeah. In single entry, I would probably plug them both in, to be honest.
And Carlson. Yeah. I mean, I asked because I held up the number of players that I'm personally playing. Like that's and so
right. I play the largest of fields. Like, I'm competing against 100,000 entries. So that's why when I say I need ceiling, and 23 is maybe not enough for 3K. In single entry, I'd be thrilled with 23 for 3K.
Right. Our Mohawked friend said last meeting between Philly and Orlando, and there are tiebreaker implications. Yeah, I mean, they also are just 2 teams that play starters a lot of minutes to begin with.
Our Mohawk friend knows his Philly stuff for sure.
He does know. He's a
huge Sixers fan, so load up on Maxey and Embiid is what he's saying without saying. I think if I know my guy.
Play Tyrese Maxey and don't look back. Give me one more player, Keith. Give me your what did you and Steve, your plum dog millionaire play of the day?
Yeah. Oh man. I'm hesitant to do this now after what happened with Brandon Williams last night.
Sure. Do you want me to just run it? I went Larry Market, and I'll stay hot here. I'll just go Jalen Johnson because no one's playing him. I'll make it easy on both of us.
I love that shout. I was going to go much chalkier. I would probably say Zion Williamson, but I like your route better.
Okay. Well, that's the core. $6,600, 3 players. You could literally play anyone you want in this spot. Big shout to you, Keith. Big shout to everyone in the chat. We'll be back Monday.
Real quick before you sign off, there's no Toronto in this lineup. Do not play a lineup without Toronto Raptors tonight. I agree. But it's true. And there will be hopefully no rain in that game tonight. Yeah. No ejections in that game tonight.
no injuries. Hopefully tonight's a better night. Big shout to you, Keith. We'll be back Monday with the preview show. So look for it Sunday night. Everybody have a great weekend. Be safe out there.